mothers hid money under mattresses,
Mm,
and families just really hid any sort of finances because they were in fear of it being stolen
mm,
by their immediate family. And unfortunately, I know of a couple of nieces and nephews that took advantage of their elderly aunts, only
mm,
for the kids to find out and almost get into physical confrontations behind it.
mm,
So when you
mm,
have this kind of history, it's frustrating to to not feel comfortable with your own blood, to have these nice conversations.
wow.
And that's something that I'm even encouraging in my own home, is to try and uplift the mentality of my immediate family to do the suggestions that you're making. But I still have these other thoughts in the back of my head from the
Mm.
things that I've seen coming up. That's all I wanted to share. I'm complete.
Oh no, thank you for that. That had a great value. We deal with a lot of the psychosis and a lot of the imprinting that was presented to us. Regardless, like I have a Caribbean background because my parents are Jamaican. A lot of stuff was socially engineered. A lot of stuff was based on very, how should I say, not so much just the Anglican role, but very minimizing and things of that nature where, a great people were still in some ways, disenfranchised. And you notice that all over the globe. And as you're saying, to have those relative conversations, it's about a wealth strategy. And they didn't desire for people who look like me and you to have these wealth conversations. We're supposed to be sitting here just talking about how are we going to buy some bread? Can we afford some milk? Instead of saying, wait a minute, okay, like when we finally had a George Jefferson who was moving on up and made it to the east side and got
And
out of.
Dr. Clark, if I could,
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't mind being transparent. When I lived in Queens,
Mm-hmm.
and before we moved to Long Island, we tried to encourage the kids to keep the home
Mm-hmm.
and just pay the pay the bills basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they could not get it in their mind that they should pay for something where they lived for free for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they became of age where they moved out and they had to pay other people rent. And we're like, listen, we had a house that had a $2,300 mortgage, and y'all messing around paying that on an apartment, and there was three of you all who could have contributed. But because they grew up there as children, they couldn't see the importance of maintaining an inexpensive situation for future financial wealth, because if they would have contributed to the home and put part of their earnings to the side until they were ready to get their own, it would have been much easier to do there than to be out in the world trying to pay rent, utilities, and create a savings. But for whatever reason, and I've seen it outside of my family,
Mm-hmm.
when the family comes up in that house as children, they don't see the value in it. And I don't know why, but unfortunately, we ended up selling it, and an asset left the family
Mm-hmm.
that could have stayed in the family for generations. But, so yes, I'm totally with you, my brother. Thank you so much for what you do.
No problem. And it's so interesting where you start to really see as real estate is one of the areas that grows over time that adds to your potential wealth. How you see in some other communities, it's like, they've been here 40 years or 50 years. I need me a bigger. It's like, there's a reason why that family held on to that house for 40 years. And then some of, like you said, some of them may have had the right conversation, and all of a sudden, they ain't sell it now. The the third generation, there's a third or the fourth generation that's living in the same home. They pay for the upkeep and stuff like that, whatever's going on for the current expenses. Because, of course, the expenses won't be the same as it was 30, 40 years ago when they acquired the property. But it's something as we get into those spaces when we start getting into talking about trust and things of that nature and, those areas that show how we can hold on to wealth. And as you made that statement, and being very transparent. Like, we have a property in New York City, and there are times, you know, you think about that, and what you just shared makes me think about even sometimes our situation. It's like at times people want you to hold the bag. They rather you hold the bag. It's like, wait a minute, I gotta be responsible for this. I gotta pay for that. Or I gotta contribute. It's like, wait a minute, like I'm confused. It's like, did we do something wrong? But then when you start to really break it down, no, we really didn't do something wrong. Is that people think that they have choices, or they feel because they're above age, they have choices. But as you made that statement, that's interesting. What could have happened? Those young people at that particular time says, you know what? Regardless if it's a one family home or two family home, yo, you stay in your part, I stay in my part. We can manage these expenses. We stack our chips up here and there, and all of a sudden, that one house turns into three. Other communities do it. And sometimes we laugh at some of those communities. Like, how come there's all them people living in that house? And you start to recognize it. Everyone is pulling their weight. That means it's so much of a lesser of expense, which means they have a lesser vibration, a lesser of a negative vibration towards money. Because now they're saying, wait a minute, we're being financially responsible. We are sharing the weight.
And Dr. Clarke, it is so easy to lose assets. It's difficult to obtain them.
Mm.
You can sell a house real easy. It's a lot harder to buy one.
True. Very true. Very, very true. Especially what's going on in the United States right now, because as part of the offshoot of why prices are so high on especially single family homes, you have so many of these corporations who are out there buying these homes and just renting them, not buying them to sell them, but buying them because they recognize now you are somehow keeping this so-called, and I put my fingers up in the quotations, the American dream, even further away from people. Like now, this whole block is like, wait a minute, I desire to purchase this home. It's like, no, we'll rent it to you. We'll keep you as a renter. And that's part of the systemic space of attempting to keep people as consumers. Because when people become owners, I know like when we first purchased our house in 1996, there was a different vibration where it was like, instead of paying the landlord and we sent in that mortgage check each month, it felt a little different. There was a certain level of pride. And there was a certain part of learning curve and stuff like that. But still, there was a certain level of pride, like, wait a minute, I'm coming to my house, coming to my home. And as we're seeing, especially with some of these generations that are rocking out these days, a lot of things are just different, just very different. Not saying we have to go old school, but just things are just different. And that's part of the development and the evolution of it, of recognizing how we can, you know, recognize is there, are we really leaving a legacy and for who? That's another question we have to, stay very, very quantified upon. The four pillars of family alignment, a simple framework to remember what holds legacy together. Alex Miss Johnson, can you read the first one? Values.
Values. What matters most to us? The principles that guide every decision and the principle that guide every decision and anchor our identity as a family.
Thank you. I understand, yeah. It doubled up for some reason. That wasn't on her. So think about it. What are the principles that guide every decision? Are you making decisions based upon fear, emotion? Everything's always so heightened and loud and like, whoa, whoa. That's not real decision making. And it's something that I learned as an extra caveat. Have you noticed in most affluent neighborhoods, it's quiet? Why is it in the hood or urban or certain rural areas? It's always got to be loud, or stuff is blasting and stuff just don't make no sense. You're sitting there like, wait a minute. And it's so true. Wealth whispers. The poor are loud. I'm say this again. This is not meant to make anyone feel any type of way. It's just the truth. Wealth whispers. But when you're emoting or you have to, sometimes you feel like you don't have two nickels. Well, we got to turn out my music. Like, whoa. But wealth whispers because when people are really strategizing and positioning themselves in areas where they can develop and grow, regardless if it's academically or in the marketplace or wherever avenues that allow them to see a possibility for more resources to come within their hands, and then they can send that money out to work for some more and bring back some more. When you're really being strategic, you're not loud in strategy. There's no reason for it. Because what are you attempting to prove? So that's values. I'll read vision. Vision, where we're going together, the shared future we're building, and the legacy we're committed to creating. It has to be a commitment. No commitment, I don't care what, you can have the greatest idea in the world. If you are not committed to it, it will be fleeting. There's so many great ideas that worked or had the potential to be tremendous. And it's like, okay, how committed were you to that dream? How committed were you to that idea? How committed to you to whatever it is? You can say product, service, etc., etc., etc. Were you truly committed to it? So you had a vision, and you may have cast it, but were you committed to it? Yeah, you had a vision. Okay, that's great. I have this and I have that. Okay, great. Tell me your commitment level. Because usually the dollars will prove if you were committed or not. But that's the report card. That's why, as I said earlier about those multinational corporations, they're always figuring out, okay, we get these resources in, okay, a percentage goes back out because we want people to know we're going to keep that wealth commitment and conversation in practice. And at times we are very poor in that, and myself included. That's why when I, share on most episodes about, how you can support the platform, no, that doesn't go into my pocket. I put that now into how do we promote the Comeback Collective Circle. It's not about my pocket. It's about, wait a minute, we got to push this wheel along. Not for this information just to be amongst a couple of people. No, we feel good about. No. This needs to be seen by thousands, millions, billions. It takes resources. So if I'm not willing to be committed to that, then why have the vision? And we all can get a little bit better than that. Ms. Johnson, can you read the voice parameter?
Voice. How we communicate. Open, honest dialogue that builds trust and creates space for every perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not her. I don't know why it doubles up on that side. It just says create space twice. We'll fix that next time. But open, honest dialogue that builds trust and creates space for every perspective. Every perspective is needed. That's why even when like Ms. Johnson was able to let me know that Mr. Sampson had something to say, and it'd been easy to say, oh no, we can, oh, we're just gonna keep going. No, no, no. There are times that it's good to have your voice in the matter. Have your voice in a space where you're allowing yourself that you're contributing. Not because this is my title, I'm this. Like, okay, that's great. But what are you really contributing? What are you really giving? Don't just tell me because you're this or that or whatever distinction is. Because I'm this distinction, that's just what it is. Like, no, that's sad. You're playing yourself small. That means you limited yourself to whatever that distinction or title is. Instead of recognizing, okay, how are we contributing to getting this thing to, because no one does it by themselves. Elon Musk may be considered the richest person on the planet, but if it wasn't for his employees, if it wasn't for some of the ideas that he has, wasn't for some of the business acumen that he had, he would not have it. Same as Jeff Bezos, same as Oprah Winfrey, same as anyone that you can throw out there, Robert Smith, regardless, or Jay-Z, whoever it is that you wish to throw out there. You start to recognize, like, wait a minute, they caught a vision, they were committed to it, they were willing to invest in it, they were willing to take those shots. And they came back with a lot of pregnant money. They communicated. They allowed themselves to create that space. And sometimes it's good to have those spaces when people can be naysayers or tell you that you're boring and this and that and that. And that. That's good. That feeds you. Take those. Don't take it just as a feedback as negative, but take the negativity and says, okay, maybe I'm just not called to you. Maybe this could be above your head. That's okay. But I know it's reaching somebody.
Dr. Clarke, speaking of reaching somebody, the
Go
other
ahead.
Dr. Clarke would like to share as well.
Go ahead.
Dr. Cheryl Clarke, you had your hand up.
Shall we play the
I
Jeopardy music?
did, but I did put it down, but it's okay. I feel like Prophet Ham says, okay, so you opened up with the family in the very, very beginning. And I think that that was an interesting thing. And when you are looking at the pillars, I think the vision starts with the family. And there's a lot of times that we are talking in spaces, but we're not communicating. And I think the subtotal of what happens is when you talk about the Jay-Z, you talk about those people, the community is where it starts with family. It starts with the backbone of that. And when you look at how that looks and what are we talking at the dinner table or where we are expressing how to begin to move in these systems, I think people need to look at people's family also to start there and not take face value for someone that comes on a platform and may not have the track record. So look at people's track record in regards to where they're moving it from. So when you did speak of the Jay-Z's and you speak to those people, go back and look at where and how they really did those things and actually did it. I always look at Michelle Obama and her brother. They talked a lot about their parents sitting them at the dinner table and discussing the bills and discussing how they are moving in this. And it just didn't happen. So I think it starts in the family, but they took our communication away as in our culture. And they took that away from us. And we talk at our children. And we're not looking at how we can begin to build them in a space of economics. So I think different cultures have different ways of raising their children. Like with you, you're Jamaican. My parents, my mother didn't talk to me about money. I learned a lot about money when you came along. So there's things of that nature where you got to look and see where you are and the standpoint of not everybody's supposed to be an entrepreneur. However, understanding how to open that door and be consistently consistent with things is important. And I'm complete.
Excellent. Appreciate that dialogue. That's why it's a dialogue. Everyone's perspective is open here. And it gives a richness. Because eventually, and this is something I remember learning in high school, you may come here one way, but you choose how to leave. I remember that sitting at Brooklyn Tech and that big auditorium that was like part concert hall. They made sure they expressed that to us. You came here one way, but you can leave. How you leave, you choose how you leave. That means you always have the opportunity to choose what it is that you're going to learn, what it is that you're going to be in expressive of whatever it is that you're choosing. We're all choosing. You're choosing every single day. Which leads us to vault. How resources are stewarded. Responsible management that protects and multiplies wealth for future generations. Now, at times, especially in Black and Brown communities, this is where we're probably starting to get a little bit better at. As we're recognizing with technology, and now before it's like, wait a minute, I got to go to a stockbroker in order for me to get stock. No, you don't. Or if I'm interested in getting some good life insurance, not just term, I got to wait. No, you don't. Or if I need to learn about something, oh, I got to wait for someone to teach me. No, you don't. Because those are all resources. Resources is not just money. But you'll see when I get to that last line underneath. Resources is not just about money. Time is a resource. Your academics is a resource because that academics can be retranslated into dollars. And we've noticed how it can even be reflected back as a negative based upon when this administration came in and they went after the Black woman. Oh, could it have been that this individual who ended up winning had to go up against a Black female who was our first Black vice president? Could that be it? Or as we notice now, as they're starting to talk about now, they're looking for fraud, but y'all focus on Minnesota. Oh, that's right. That gentleman was the VP candidate under that woman. And now all of a sudden, see, sometimes we got to look at the breadcrumbs. We don't want to do that. We get caught up in the sensationalism of it. And I recognize, like, wait a minute, let's pause for a second. Let's follow the line. Why is this line going here? Are we thinking? Or are we just getting caught up in what they're showing us, what they're sharing with us? And even as we talk about different perspectives here, are you sometimes allowing yourself to hear other perspectives other than just what American media shares with us? Which gives you even a more well-rounded, like, what do people say about us? Or we're just so gung-ho just to hear all the good stuff or hear that we're the best. And we don't recognize that sometimes we can be, of people's perception of us can be considered a little off-putting. Just a thought. So when we talk about that vault, how are you utilizing your time? How are you utilizing the information? How are you utilizing all these things? These are all resources. Please do not limit resources and put resources in a box that is just about dollars and cents. Because then you're playing your own self. Even how you take care of yourself, mentally, physically, financially, those are all part of your resources. Like, wait a minute. What would be the purpose to end up becoming highly successful, but all this stuff over here is not being taken care of? It's all part of your vault. The vault of what it is that, as they say at times in certain spiritual dispensations, it says, you are a book that other people are reading about. What book are you? Are you a small book? Are you a well-rounded book? Are you a book that has a lot of information? Or do we open up a page and there's only like 3 words a page, even though the book could be fat? Or could you open up a book and be like, wow, there's so many words on these pages. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Like, oh, okay. And we all choose what type of book we are. To go back to that thought, you came here one way, but you're choosing how to leave out. That's why there have been plenty of people who started off without a silver spoon in their mouth and ended up highly successful, moved to an affluent status. And there's too many out there. And just because like how I like this year, I'm about to turn 55, I'm still in the possibility of hitting that tipping point. Because there's so many examples out there that shows that, wait a minute, you'd be surprised how many people, by the time they got in their 50s, weren't really successful yet. And all of a sudden, hit that tipping point. Skyrocketed. Plenty of examples out there. And any of us here can be that one. So money serves alignment. Alignment never serves money. I'm going to say it again. Money serves alignment. That's why they say a fool and his money can be parted real quickly. Because the money's going to disappear because there's no alignment. So there are times you have to make that choice. What are you choosing to align? And you become responsible for that. Any thoughts before we move on? And our final slide for tonight, family roles and responsibilities, something that Dr. Cheryl Clarke was alluding to and sharing. Everyone has a seat, not the same seat. A fundamental dynasty truth. Equality does not mean sameness. Honor does not equal control. Each family member plays a vital role in our collective success. And we have 4 different parts. That even if you have multiple people in your family, you can have 20 people in your family. You can all have some aspect of it or be one and then kind of flow into having aspects of another. So it's not making one better than the other. It's but recognizing that you do need all 4 of these parts for certain things to be effective. You have the steward, who actively manages and protects family resources with wisdom and foresight. Usually the steward is probably the individual who may have been the person who really put in most of the work to at least establish the possibility of their family getting into a space where it could have been poor at one time and now they're doing good. Maybe they're at least wealthy. Maybe they could be affluent. Then you have the beneficiary, receives an inheritance with gratitude and responsibility for continued growth. So by the time we start talking about trust, usually those are the people that have their trust set up. They know they have some assets and resources. That's how they start recognizing, start learning how to get certain things out of your name. As Mr. Sampson alluded to, I know there's a part of them that wish that they had kept that family, that home that they ended up selling. They probably made a great profit off of it. But suppose you still have that asset and some level of trust. It's not necessarily Mr. Sampson's name. It may not necessarily be in Debbie's name. It may not be necessarily anyone's name. But when we get to that point, when we start talking about trust and why they're so important, especially for Black and brown community, you'll see why. And you definitely need someone that's going to be the advisor in the family. Provides expertise and guidance to support sound financial decisions. See, the advisor is important because that advisor is not just stuck in what's going on in the family. The advisor is usually the person that goes out and be like, yo, this is what I learned. This is what I'm bringing back. not waiting like like when the mother bird goes flying down and comes back with the worm, just waiting for someone to stick something in their mouth. The advisor's like, yo, this is what I learned. I learned a different perspective. I've seen these people do this. What happens if we bring this over here? Or maybe we may not pour all our resources into that, but suppose we take a part of it and just stand there, and all of a sudden we see a tremendous return. Like, wait a minute, whoa, we didn't think about that. So advisors are very important because for anything to be sustainable, it needs some level of figuring out how to continue to navigate because the current doesn't stay stable. The current changes. Even up to 20 years ago, we wasn't talking about AI like how we talk about AI now. AI is a part of the current. Of the current now. But 20 years ago, which is not that long ago, it wasn't. 2006, nobody was really talking about no AI. We were barely starting to worry about Siri, and even then, there was no iPhone yet. Because iPhone didn't really come out till late 2007, going into 2008. So even then, there was no iPhone. We're talking just 20 years ago. But we know people can't live without the iPhone these days, regardless if you're apostolic or not. So you start to recognize that advisor within the family dynamic is so important. And sometimes that advisor can catch a lot of hell and vitriol. Oh, what are you bringing to the table? A different perspective, a possibility, a thought. And you definitely need this person, the protector, safeguards family values and ensures legacy principles remain intact. That's the person that reminds me, like, I remember the movie Soul Food. I think it was Vivica Fox's character before it became the Showtime series. But Vivica Fox, that was the one that initially everyone was like, oh, she did this and that. But no, she was the family, that was the protector. That was the one that kept, at least the traditions going. And you would say, oh my God, they're not a steward or they're not a beneficiary. And then she's not really advising from that standpoint. She's not the intellectual. But actually that helps that protector is part of the glue. And you start to recognize, like, wait a minute. Okay. The person is playing their position. And it's a very vital one. Or you're just the protector. Hell yeah. We better have one. Well, this thing's going to be very fleeting. So all four of these parts as family roles, and like I said, you may have multiple protectors in the family. You may have multiple advisors in the family. You may have multiple beneficiaries in the family. You may even have, you can even have multiple stewards because if you start really expanding and growing, then all of a sudden you may have, you're responsible for this part of the family empire, and you're responsible for that part of the family empire, and everyone's coming together having those meetings. And okay, what's going on your side? What's going on your side? And, okay, how's that working over there? How's that working over there? Okay, now we're coming back as a full body. It's like, okay, this works. So it can even be multiple stewards. Order prevents offense. When everyone understands their role, unity flourishes. And that's one of the things that as we start to recognize some of the necessary next steps that are happening, we have to get unity. But that unity starts internally. Even before I'm looking for unity with my wife and stuff like that, I have to have some level of unity within me. Am I unified in my acumen? Am I unified in what it is that I desire to do? Am I unified to be committed to what it is that I desire to see manifest? Because it's easy to point the finger to someone else. The reason why I didn't become nothing because of you. No. The reason why you didn't become nothing is because of you. And the finger's pointed back at you in your own mirror. So it's just things to think about. And when there's order, all of a sudden people can't sit there and as much as that they want to, jump up and get loud and get upset and this and that. I'm like, okay. All you're showing is how disorderly you are. Just things that make you think. And with that, I am complete. Any thoughts as we start to bring this to a close?
I have a thought. You said a couple of things at the end. I think that just coming from a clinician point of view, some of us not aware of how we show up. I would say, Dr. Clarke. So when you said that some people are disorderly, some people are it's in the mirror because of you, some people don't know the reason why, that they don't even think that they can be. So I think like people like yourself, like myself, and like Dr. Prophet Samson, people that I hear that can bridge a gap for people. I think that's what we need to start doing, because some people are not aware that they can be until they saw Barack Obama become president, because there was no one in their lives that said they can do that. So when I look at Ernest Sampson and I look at yourself and I look at, even, Edward, and I look at Carol, these people in here are, I'm not sure what Brother Guthrie does, but these are entrepreneurs and we're people of color. And when they see us and they see Brother Sampson walk into space where sometimes he can have some kicks on and sometimes he can have a suit on, and for you vice versa, and be able to come in that room and say, I'm successful, but I'm not successful without you. And you can do this too. So I think that they need to see more of us, because I don't think that people are aware. Why do I say that? Because I've been in spaces with women. It makes me almost well up. And they can't even look in the mirror.
Mm.
They can't even see themselves. So I think, Dr. Clarke, I understand that you're saying it's them, but maybe they may not be aware. They may not be aware that they can be a Dr. Clarke. They may not be aware that they can even get life insurance. All of our children have life insurance and they're all under 30, except for one, but she had it before she was 30. They all have life insurance because that's what the rich do. But we didn't learn that until we got into our 40s. So we reached back and said, children, get some life insurance. Get $1 million life insurance. Get 500,000. Because it's cheap for them. Because that's what they do. So when they want to buy a home, they can get some money from there. So this is where we can begin to look at that and to say, so everyone that's watching and you looking at, these two brothers that have their cameras on, they are established, but they didn't get there on their own. They were aware of themselves, but they had to come to a space of that. And I'm complete.
Excellent. Appreciate that. That is so true. No one does this by themselves. Please, for the love of God, I will never come off and act like I'm some sort of island to myself, like things have not been in the space of collaboration, but that's part of, as you saw in the slide deck from today, only a couple of slides, but the ability, and not every idea is going to work. Not every thought is supposed to work. It's not supposed to work. Not everything is supposed to work. Your greatest lessons come from your failures. And the greatest failures, those that don't attempt to do anything. That's the only failure. So if a person ever comes up to you and says that you're a failure or you failed or you messed up and did that, okay, you have to recognize that. Elon Musk had to fail at times. Jeff Bezos had to fail at times. And Oprah Winfrey got fired and had to fail at times. Even Jay-Z, they said that, they thought, he'd never be, ever get his own record deal. And you start to see that even Sam Walton, you selling, prices, open up a new version of a general store. That ain't gonna work. All the naysaying is actually beneficial. Because usually people won't say that you are this or that may not be what you would like to hear if there wasn't a potential vault there. And so when it comes to our family dynamics and our family structures and the necessary steps that we need to take as our respective communities, these type of conversations are beneficially needed, because now it's not about putting us on notice as a community. It's not about getting mad because of this, that, and the third. No, it's about recognizing. It's about being so objective that now we're recognizing. We're recognizing. We're sitting there like, oh, okay, we're making some necessary assessments to what's going on here. Now, okay, love our griots, love what has occurred. We can use that as a part of the foundation of the shoulders that we're standing upon. Now we can do better. And it's not if we can do better, we can do better. And when you recognize that you can do better, not if, it's like, Dr. Cheryl Clarke alluded to when Barack Obama became the 44th president, and that slogan as he was going through, and he started building that momentum, that yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now I'll simply say, yes, we all can. There's no, some people can do it and some cannot. No. Don't ever put yourself in a box in that way.
Dr. Clarke, I never picked up a golf club until Tiger Woods played.
Come on. Oh, and at one point, boy, that was the baddest golfer on the planet. Well, he's still going down as one of the best golfers in history. But I mean, there was a time, boy, people were upset, boy. And I remember that. That was during the time, like in the mid 90s. Like all of a sudden, like, who's this young man? It looked like he got buck teeth. And all of a sudden, hitting the ball 300 yards. Them people were sitting there just upset and was like all of a sudden kicking them other communities behind. Winning masters at a young age, and they throwing that green jacket on them. You can see like the envy and like, put it on, put it on, put it on. And you sit there and it evokes a sense of pride. That's when you recognize, yeah, we all can do it. Even in hockey and, like this past Olympics, and they keep taking a picture of the young lady that was part of the hockey team. Initially she even had to deal with the vitriol, because it's a mainly Caucasian sport. It's like, oh no, shouldn't you be playing basketball or something? And this and that. And she was one of the main enforcers, and she even scored a goal during the Olympics to help the U.S. get that gold medal. She wasn't just an also ran. It was, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can represent. Yes, you can see, you won't see me. And that's probably the main thing from today's teaching, as we'll definitely continue this next week, but it's about making sure you see yourself. Not only see others, but make sure that, do you see yourself? And that's why that unity starts. That's why every time you heard me speak about unity tonight, and talk about unity with someone outside of yourself, because now you're attempting to put that responsibility on them. No, the first person you have to be unified with is you. Until you are willing to look yourself in the mirror and be like, I can be better. Now you're ready. Because an Oprah Winfrey, a Sam Walton, Sean Carter, a Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Robert Smith, you start to really hear their backstory. They all had those moments of epiphany when it was like, wait a minute, I can blame everything outside of me until I got atoned. And it's like, okay, I'm going in this direction and I'm committed to it. That things started to manifest and things started to happen. And we all have that. And we're all empowered by that. So as we start to come to a close on this evening, first off, you have the ability, for some of you who are looking for AI tools, I would impress upon you, you can go to this website, galaxy.ai, !REF equals Gregory. That's my affiliate link. Yes. That helps to support the platform. And on top of that, if you're looking for some of those great tools and you're seeing people create those videos and like, how is it? You'd be surprised, when you make the investment in yourself and you start seeing all the access of tools that this platform has, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I can create a video. I can do this and I can do that. I have access to this and access to that. It's like, yeah. Why not invest in yourself? Because AI is not going away. So yes, this is part of what we're going to talk about going forward, because it's not going away. We're not going to put our people to put their heads into the sand as if you're not going to be a part of it. Because the worst case scenario is if you do decide to do that, you're positioning yourself to keep our community behind. And it's lovely to see even our elders, not old people. It's lovely to see at times when our elders can sit there like, yo, I did this and I did that, and I'm recognizing this and I'm prompting, and yes, excellent. So you're looking for a platform, start to allow yourself to get in those tools. Maybe you're a business owner, instead of looking for someone to do certain things, all of a sudden you'll be surprised what tools out there that can shorten the distance. I'm just saying. So go visit galaxy.ai and use my affiliate link as well as a part of, this. And of course, the main area to support the circle, our ways to give. You can do it via Cash App at $Gregory Clarke D Min. Or if you choose to do it via Venmo, drop the $. It's Gregory Clarke D Min if you're choosing to support the platform via Venmo. And if it's Zelle or PayPal, it's the same email address, esquire971@gmail.com. And until we're back here next Tuesday for another great time, another great space as we continue in these necessary next steps, make sure you also become a subscriber to the YouTube channel at Dr. Gregory Clarke Master Coach. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, that's Come Back Collective Circle if you're on Facebook. And definitely, if you choose to become a part of the email list, which I invite you to, simply go to CoachClarkeDmin.com today. Take advantage and become a part of the email list. We love you. Take the 4-quarter assessment while you're there. And also, I would be minimizing if I don't talk about the fact that we're on the cusp of releasing the book Life in the Huddle, which is part memoir and part introspective tome into why it is that, especially when it comes to young people, how we're going to make sure our community gets better. So, as we get closer and closer to publication, yes, it's complete. Even did some last tweaks today, this very day, in regards to the back cover, so everything is aligned and doesn't look, so controlled. Even took some of the great advice from Ms. Johnson, her critiques. That's why it's good to have, protectors around. I got to shout out my muse, Dr. Cheryl Clarke. You need all those great individuals around you that will keep pushing you towards your level of greatness, and make sure that you honor that. You may not like it at times, but you still honor it because you recognize it's part of what makes you you, and you recognize you don't do this by yourself. So until next week, we'll be back here, same time, same space. Have a great week. Continue to be empowered. Continue to flow. Continue to watch your wallets, and continue to use your resources wisely as you develop. See you all next week.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. God bless.
Great night, everyone.
Good night.